This is the line that takes in the CO2 from the tank and feeds it into the cell culture incubator. This is the valve that blocks CO2 from escaping the cell culture incubator. By turning this valve, you prevent the loss of CO2 from the cell culture incubator. Please notify your coworkers and others to not open the cell culture incubator's door. Doing so would result in CO2 escaping the incubator. Once you turn off the line that feeds the CO2 incubator, the next thing to do to change the CO2 tank is to first close the main valve. Even though the CO2 tank is supposedly empty at this stage, is for safety reason, it is still wise to close the main tank. To close the main tank first before you disconnect the pressure regulator. This is the pressure regulator here. Once you close the valve, this is the valve of the main tank. Once you close it, the next step is to disconnect the pressure regulator from the main tank. To do that, you need a wrench. I use this wrench right here. It is small enough to fit into this confined space. You use this wrench to unscrew this bolt right here. This is the bolt that connects the pressure regulator to the main tank. Here, this. As you can see that this wrench fits this bolt perfectly. If the pressure regulator faces away from you, as in this case, turning the wrench counterclockwise means that you're locking the regulator. On the other hand, turning the wrench clockwise means you're disconnecting the regulator from the tank. So in our case, we need to turn the wrench clockwise to disconnect the regulator from the main tank, because the regulator faces away from us. This lug right here, right? Can I see this?
Yeah.
It's almost.
No, but there's no one in there, and no one's also here.
Right. As you do this, be careful, or you don't twist this line, right? Yeah. So you want to hold on to the regulator to prevent the line from being pulled, which can result in leaking. Remove the cap from the new tank and connect the regulator to this part of the tank.
With the thread.
And to position the regulator in such a way that the line is not being pulled or it's too tight. And also the regulator is facing the outside, or at least to the point where you can read the pressure gauge. Bolt. Once the bolt is tight, you want to open the main tank fully. Right. Try to pay attention. Try. Yeah. Open the main tank slowly. If you observe any hissing sound, that means that there is a leak around the bolt. like by where you connect the regulator. Do not close the main tank immediately if that happens, because you don't want to lose the gas. To observe some leakage, you can add some Teflon tape to the threads. First, disconnect the regulator. Um, uh, wrap the Teflon tape around the thread and reconnect it. Once the main tank is fully open, right, it has to be fully open. You can turn on the regulator. This is the regulator here.
Oh, when do we turn that off?
So it's already on. It's already on. Let's see. Make sure that the regulator gauge, not the gauge of the main tank, the regulator gauge is around 15. So once you get the regulator gauge to 15 psi, you can reconnect. You can reconnect the line to the incubator, right, like that. By turning this valve right here vertically. The last step is to check the incubator. Yeah, CO2 level. You can see that it is increasing.
It's okay,
Yeah, yeah, it's working. Make sure to check the main tank pressure on a regular basis, so that um, uh, it won't get empty at midnight. Because if that happens, your cells would die by the time you get here in the morning. You can check the integrity of the regulator connection by spraying some soapy water at this location. If you see air bubbles, that means that it is leaking. If not, then it is most likely fine. To prevent the main tank pressure gauge getting down to zero, which can destroy your cells, be sure to change the tank when the gauge needle gets to around 100. Right now it is around 900. When this needle moves to get down to around 100, change the tank. Always test your pressure regulator connection to make sure that it is tight enough by spraying soapy water at the junctions. Yeah. If it is not tight, you will see bubble coming from this connection. I'm not seeing any bubbles, so it looks good. Leaking of CO2 gas can come from multiple sources, including the connection between the pressure regulator and the main tank, as well as the connection between the pressure regulator and the line that feeds CO2 gas into the cell culture incubator. Specifically, this connection right here. You can spray soapy water to check for bubbles, and this connection right here. After you disconnect the pressure regulator from the empty tank and transfer that regulator to the new full tank. And after you test these important connection points for CO2 leakage, you need to put a label, an empty label, on the cap of the cylinder, of the empty cylinder, so that you know which cylinder is empty and which cylinder is full. This location has 3 cylinders, 1 active cylinder and 2 spare cylinders. You don't need to order a replacement cylinder if there is still 1 full spare cylinder. As soon as you have 2 empty cylinders, you should make a purchase for, you should place an order for 2 new cylinders immediately and request return of the empty cylinders. Shown on the wall are the instructions on how to request return of the empty cylinders, as well as to place new order.